All right, we're live. Welcome to my show. This is Coach Roman Ivanov, and today we have a special guest, Matt Bear from Tucson, Arizona, and we will be talking about exciting topic today: how to get sellers leads. Yes, sellers leads for free. I listened to Matt's presentation at Elite Retreat at Tom Ferry, and I was really impressed by the strategy, how he builds a rapport without any resistance. So stay tuned, listen to the whole Matt's presentation. And at the end, I bet you will walk away with the strong skills how to convert for sale by owners with zero resistance. But now back to you, Matt. Please introduce yourself for those who don't know you. Tell us how long you've been in business and how you come up with the idea of contacting for sale by owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Roman, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here. Like you mentioned, several weeks ago, I was on the Tom Ferry stage at Elite Retreat talking about for sale by owners. And this started last year. So last January, our coach, or my coach, your old coach, Jeff Mays, we were looking at where we could add a new pillar of business, where we could get more listings. I was calling expireds, I was calling cancelled, I was door knocking, I was holding open houses, but I wanted more listings. And so Jeff made me look at for sale by owners. And I was like, nah, there's none of them. You know how it is. When there's things that we don't want to do, we always find an excuse not to do it. So I was like, nah, there's no for sale by owners here in Tucson. And we looked it up. There was like 120 of them. And Jeff was like, get to work, baby. So from that, I started calling, because when we are coached, we do what our coaches say, because if we don't, why are we spending the money, right? And so I started calling, and I was getting nowhere. The scripts that I was using weren't really getting me in the door. I was getting a lot of objections. For sale by owners were asking the question, well, do you have a buyer? We're not going to pay a commission, and all the things that we hear from for sale by owners. And after a couple of weeks, Jeff called me up and said, on our coaching call, he's like, how's it going? I said, Jeff, these for sale by owners suck. I'm out. I'm going back to what I know. And he dug into that. He asked questions, and it came down to the script. So we took some time, we changed the script, and lo and behold, poof, 2023, 18 for sale by owner listings. And the whole game has changed. The whole game has unlocked, and I'm here to share what works.
So I can imagine just saying, hey, check this out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, okay, he's like, I'm calling BS on this. He pulled up Zillow right there and then on the computer. He's like, look, there is 120 for sale by owners. What are you waiting for? So yeah, that's a beautiful thing about Jeff. He doesn't accept no for an answer. He just keeps digging until he gets a yes.
Exactly. And this is the strategy we're going to implement from Jeff, affecting us as agents to affecting for sale by owners. So where you start, I know you're starting searching on them online on Zillow. That's pretty clear how to find them. Hope everyone knows how to find for sale by owners on Zillow. If not, send me a message. I'll do a video for you. But let's imagine you find for sale by owners on Zillow. It's relatively simple. What's your next step?
So great question. So I always, I'm going to skip ahead a step and then I'm going to come back. The way I approach it is, I have heard countless times, and I'm sure you have, Roman, over the years of doing for sale by owners, they ask the question, do you have a buyer? Okay. They want to know if they're going to take the time to open up their front door, let you in, have a conversation. They want to know it's worth their time. They want to know if you have a buyer. So I never really felt comfortable with the line of, well, I'm working with lots of buyers and they might want to buy in your area. It just doesn't feel authentic. So what I started to do was I was looking at the areas where I have buyers, whether it's on the east side of Tucson, the west side of Tucson, wherever it is. And then I was focusing on for sale by owners in that area. So when they do ask the question, do you have a buyer? I'm not making it up. I typically do, because that's the area I'm focusing in. So first step is to look at the areas where you have buyers and focus in those areas first. It's a much more genuine conversation. The next step, quite honestly, is picking up the phone. Everybody seems to be afraid to pick up the phone. This thing, I tell a lot of people, we should all sellotape or stick to the back of our phone a $sign, because this thing makes you money, right? It's as simple as that. And so calling a for sale by owner and just knowing what to say gets you in the front door. I can guarantee that using the script that I'm about to share with you, it disarms a for sale by owner. They don't feel like you're like every other realtor who's wanting to come in, prove that they're wrong, telling them that they shouldn't be doing this by themselves. What are you thinking? You should be hiring a realtor. They've heard all that. They know the stories and they're expecting that, to be honest with you. So I actually call them up, find the number on Zillow. I read the description that they have on Zillow, very important, and I also look at the photographs. Because if the seller says to me, well, did you notice that we've done X? Or did you read that we wrote Y? You better be able to say yes. If you turn around and say, oh, I haven't even looked at that, then it just makes you even worse. So take the time. And I'll share with something at the end why that's super important. So I read the description. I look at the photographs. I make notes of things that I could potentially ask questions about from the photographs. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I noticed that you have a X, Y, and Z. Is that staying with the home? It just makes you sound like you already know what you're talking about. But the bottom line, the easiest way to get in the front door is by saying this. So I give them a call. They answer the phone. And I say, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. My name is Matt Berret with the Matt Berret Group over here at 5 Realty. I was calling about your home on 123 Banana Street, and I was curious, are you holding it open this weekend? And then shut up. That's it. So I'll repeat that again. Hey there, this is Matt Berret with the Matt Berret Group over at 5 Realty. I'm calling about your home on 123 Banana Street, and I was curious, are you holding it open this weekend? This script, Roman, I'm telling you, well, you've used it this week yourself, and how did you get on?
It was great. Yes. First couple cents on this. As soon as I came back from elite retreat, I was like, that's my strategy. I love for sale loans. I love being on the phone and I want to test it out. And I did A and B testing. My old school, when I was on the dialer, dialing for dollars and getting nothing. And then I looked at the description. Then I found that I have a lot more common with them. And I started dialing. And it was so simple, so even resistant with the conversation. So I figured, why I didn't do this before?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. When we in this industry, we have giants in our industry that teach us. Tom Ferry. There's also Tom Ferry now, Mike Ferry in the past, Bill Pipes. There's so many great coaches in the real estate world, and they teach you scripts. So when we buy into these coaches and they give you a script, a lot of agents don't want to defer from that script because they think they're not doing the right thing. However, sometimes scripts don't work, and it's agents like us that need to change and tweak things and then give that feedback back to our coaches so we can implement and make changes. If we're not using the same scripts that we used in the 70s and 80s and 90s, times have changed, technology's changed, the way we want to approach people has changed, the way people want to connect has changed. So it's our responsibility as agents to change iterations, see if it works, and then complete the feedback loop by giving that feedback back to our coaches so they can make those amendments. And so this script is very, very disarming. I actually yeah, it's disarming when you ask a seller if they happen to be holding it open that weekend. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. They're not even doing open houses. But what it says to the seller is this: it says, "I'm not here to take your time. I just want to stop by and be unintrusive and not be that agent that shows up and takes 2 hours of your time. I literally want to sneak in, sneak out. I just want to see the house and then leave." And when they say no to that, you just pivot and say, well, that sucks. I apologize. Oh, that's a shame. I was just hoping to sneak on through and take a quick 10-minute preview. Is there another time that would work? Today at 5 or tomorrow at 10? Now, that again is really disarming. It's a case of, shit, that's a shame. I was hoping you were going to hold it open. It immediately puts in the seller's head, well, maybe I should hold it open. Maybe I'm missing the boat here. It gives them another thing to think about, that when we start showing value to them later down the road, that's something that sticks in their mind. And so It may trigger them to hold an open house. Great, that's what we want to do. We want to bring you. But if not, it allows you to ask the question, well, when can I come by? Can I come by at 10 or come by tomorrow? And I'm sure you know as well as I do, Roman, that once you ask that question, can I come at 10 or come at tomorrow? What's the next thing they're going to ask? Do you have a buyer? Do you have a buyer? Every time, do you have a buyer? And this is why it's so important to focus on your for sale by owners in areas where you do have buyers, because then you can intelligently and truthfully say, you know what, Roman? I'm actually working with a couple of buyers who are looking in this area, and they've specifically asked me to find properties inside MLS and outside MLS that could potentially fit their needs. So again, when would be a great time for me to stop by and preview today at 10 or tomorrow at 5? You're not making this up. You're not lying. You're not out of integrity with these people from the get-go. You're actually aligned with them. You're working with them, not against them. So that's why I say it's really important in the beginning to focus where you're looking so you can speak more truthfully.
Excellent. So maybe we should give our viewers this frame and do a quick role play. You would be the for sale. I mean, I'll be for sale by owner. You set up an appointment with me this way so they can see the flow and see your point of view on this new technique. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, is this Roman?
Yes.
Hey, Roman, this is Matt Berret with the Matt Berret Group at 5 Realty. I was calling about your home on 123 Banana Street, and I saw that you're selling it. And I was curious, are you holding it open this weekend by any chance?
No. Do you have a buyer?
Ah, damn it. That's a shame, Roman. I was hoping to sneak by for 10 to 15 minutes to preview it. Is there another time that would work better? Maybe today at 5 or Saturday morning at 10 a.m.?
Maybe. Do you have a buyer?
Well, great question, Roman. I'm actually working with several buyers looking in your area. They've asked me to specifically find homes inside MLS and outside MLS that could potentially match their needs, and yours could be one of them. So, is there a time that I can just come by and spend 10 to 15 minutes and see if it's a match for my clients? Does today at 5 or does tomorrow at 10 work best?
Yeah, I'll be at home at 5.
Today at 5?
Yes, today at 5 would be good.
Great. I will see you there, Roman. And is this your cell phone?
It is.
Great. I'm going to text you my information so you know who's coming to your door, and I'll see you tonight at 5.
Wow, it's very simple, isn't it?
That's it. It's really it. And here's the kicker. If you call them and ask them if they're holding it open and they say yes, guess what?
Go and
Go.
see it.
Go and see it. Now, here's the thing. I've done this, and so I'm going to give you some inside information from trial and error. I've had for sale by owners that say, yep, we're holding it open tomorrow at 10. Come on by. And I've gone by at 10 o'clock. Now, you may hit a window that there's nobody there and it's just you and the seller, which is great. But what happens if somebody comes into the open house? They're going to lose interest in you and move straight to that candidate, and rightly so, just as you expect them to. What I want to do is I want to get 10 to 15 or even half an hour with them directly. So if I call and they say, yes, I'm holding it open tomorrow at 10, you should stop on by. Say, Roman, I love that. Here's what I'd like to do if you're open-minded to it. I'd like actually to come by at 9:30 and preview it, because I know what's going to happen. You're going to be having people come through the open house, and I don't want to be a distraction for you or for them. So is it possible I could sneak through maybe at 9:45 and just take 15 minutes before things get crazy for you? Would that be okay?
Right. You getting the 100% attention on yourself, because probably if there is a buyer, they're not going to be focusing on you. They're going to be focusing on the buyer. That makes total sense.
Yeah. And as we all know the underlying fact, we're here to preview it for a potential buyer, but we're also here to work it for a future listing. And so, yes, we want to see the property, but we also want to have belly to belly, eye to eye conversations with that homeowner. And we can't do that if they're watching buyers in the living room and looking at buyers in the backyard. Their focus is on dollar signs. Their focus isn't on you. So that's why I always ask to get in early, or if they don't want to do it early, then ask if you can come right at the time they close their open house and stay for 15 minutes afterwards.
Fantastic. So It's pretty easy to set up an appointment. I think second grader can do that, right? No.
Yeah, no, it really is. And here's the thing: here's the crazy thing, Roman. If they say no, if they slam the phone down, move on. So many people think that the person at the other end of the phone, the stranger that we've never met, the for sale by owner that we don't know, if they say no and get angry with you on the phone, it's like, oh, life's over. Sell the house, or put the kids into an orphanage, sell the house. We're moving to Mauritius. Everybody hates us. Like game, I'm getting out of real estate because I had one for sale by owner saying no to me. Who gives a crap? Call the next phone number. They're waiting for you. Just move on. It's okay to have somebody say no.
Yeah, and I always say this on my coaching calls. You don't know the context. Maybe they angry, maybe they late, maybe they upset, maybe they in the hospital in pain. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So why we are assuming the worst? Maybe it's not us. Maybe it's them. Most likely it's them.
Oh,
They want to sell it.
absolutely. You've heard this in the conversation at Tom Ferry. Currently in January, when I put my slide deck together, we had like 57, I think it was 57 for sale by owners in Tucson. And, the volume that was 701,000 GCI. If they were to list with me and we were to get 3% on the sales side, that's $701,000 of GCI. So many people will pay for leads. Yeah, right here, 701,000. I truly believe that for sale by owners are a hot seller. Their house is on the market. They're fielding phone calls from realtors and buyers and investors and all these sort of people. If you don't think of for sale by owners as a hot lead, I don't know what to tell you. And I know people that will spend a boatload of money to get 57 hot leads ready to sell within 30 days. Holy moly, how much would you spend? These are all free. 100% free. It just takes a phone call and time. That's all it is.
All right, Matt. So what's the next step? I assume you start building rapport at these meetings. You don't say anything, would you list with me if I show you value of my services? Nothing like that, right? So take
Nothing like that. No, it really is about them. It's about you previewing the home. The last thing they want, here's what they're expecting. And this is what I think stands us apart. The agents that do this and follow this plan, what makes us different. They're expecting you to come in, take 10 minutes looking around the house and go, oh yeah, it's a great house, just like I thought it was online. So why are you selling by yourself? Why aren't you using a realtor? Da 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 da. And they're like, holy moly, like it's a left, left, left jab. And they were waiting for that right hook, baby. They know this is coming. So when we show up and we ask questions about the house, we ask questions about them, we ask questions about their timeline just to give us more information, and we never breathe about listing, it's a difference. So I'm sure you have the screen there, Roman. I use what's called LP Mama. LPMAMA. It's an abbreviated term that I'm sure many of us have seen with buyers, but I use this with a for sale by owner. I take nothing with me but my phone or my iPad to take some notes. I'm listening. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. I do a lot of listening. I ask questions and then I listen. So I'm asking questions of, when you sell your house, where are you moving to? Do you need an agent in that city? Because I can connect you. There's a referral fee if we can make that happen. So there's another side to this, right? So where are they moving to? How did they come up with their price? If they say Zillow, hold in the laughter, don't snigger, don't giggle, don't make them wrong. Just turn and say, okay, great. You could probably lead in with a question, say, well, just out of curiosity, have you had a professional realtor like me do a market analysis for you so you actually know what's dialed in? And they might turn around and say, no, you could offer that. Would you be against me sending you one as a thank you for your time today? I can email it over. I can drop it off tomorrow. So again, we're starting to provide value, but we're not making them wrong. You ask the motivation. What's causing you to sell? When do you need to be in Florida or in North Virginia? Like, when do you need to be there? in the LP Mama, the A stands for agent. I do ask this question, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, out of curiosity. If you don't sell, if you're unable to sell it yourself by the date you have circled in the calendar, which we just established with the last question, are you looking to hire a realtor at that point? What's your plan B? If they turn around and say, no, my son is a realtor, we're going to list with him, whoa, then you're not going to win. If they turn around and say, yes, we're going to be looking to hire realtors if we don't sell in the next 30 days, fantastic. Would you be okay if I stay in touch with you and put my hat in the ring to be interviewed? You ask the question. You ask if they have a mortgage. How much money do they have? Do they have an outstanding balance on their mortgage? Because you want to know what they've got net worth-wise, because this will feed into a later question. Trust me, I've took a lot of time to plan this out. And then the following up is the appointment. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you okay, or would you be against me following up with you with feedback from my buyers in the next couple of days? They're going to say yes. They're going to want to know their feedback. And so if you share the house with a buyer, call them, and whatever the feedback is, call them back and give them the feedback. If the buyer turns around and says, I hate it, it's in the wrong area, call them back and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, just like I promised, I'm calling you back to give you some feedback. That house doesn't work for the buyer I had in mind. However, I am going to keep sharing it, but I do have some feedback for you. Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about doing that? We want to keep giving as much value for free. People buy you or buy into you for the value that you bring. Okay, it's as simple as that. The more value you deliver, they will feel more comfortable hiring you when the time comes.
Right. That's a very strong point here, Matt. Providing this really hard to reject offer, which is, are you open for me to give you the feedback from the buyer? I mean, I cannot imagine for a seller who would say, I don't need his feedback. Never happened.
It's so true. They want to know, a lot of times for sale by owners haven't had buyers call. It's mostly realtors, mostly investors. Buyers aren't, let's be real buyers are actually working with realtors. They're not working by themselves. They want professional help. Realtors are only really calling for sale by owners to get listings. And so when you actually call a buyer back or a seller back and say, hey, my buyer said this, or this is some things that I see that you could do a little bit better or need some assistance on, they're grateful for that. Even if they use it or don't, just keep providing value. And so I then put them on a rotation. Once I've had that initial appointment, I've followed up with them. I'm calling them every single week, whether it's the same date and time. I shared this story. 11 weeks I went with one for sale by owner. Every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, I'd call him. And Ted on the 11th week was like, you're never going to stop calling me, are you, Matt? I'm like, nope, not until we sell this damn house, Ted. 11 weeks it took. But he knew right at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, his phone was going to be calling with my picture on it. And we just had that kind of laughter, that rapport. And after 11 weeks of trying, he listed with me, and 3 weeks later, we got it under contract. So you just got to keep chipping away at these people. I like to bring value. I think that's one of the best things we can do as realtors is to give our knowledge and expertise away for free. We're not attorneys. We don't charge by the hour. So give away for free. If these guys sell their house by themselves, be their cheerleader. Call them up, and if they tell you, hey, we just got it under contract, we had somebody come in and write us a great offer, great. Tell me about it. Where did the buyer come from? When are they closing? This is amazing. Good for you. How can I help? Okay, be their cheerleader. If you're calling them every week, and this is the key line to say this, is when you call them every week, just say, hey, Roman, it's Matt Berret. I'm giving you a quick call. I wanted to check in. How was your activity this week? Any offers? They're going to say, oh, trust me, normally happens. What can we do differently this week, Roman? What can we, you and I, do differently this week? Now, this is over the phone. But that subtle word of we, the royal we, it's making us sound like a team. I'm on your side, baby. I want to help you sell your house. So what can we do differently? 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, what do you mean? What could we do differently? Well, have you thought about an open house? No. I have signs which I lend to for sale by owners to do an open house. Plain, simple, open house, no branding, no logos. Lend it to them. I'll drop it off on Friday, pick them up on Monday. There's 10 signs, have them. I'll borrow them, lend them to you. Give shit away for free. I noticed that you don't have any flyers. Would you like my team to do 20 flyers for you for your open house? I'll bring them along with the signs. Take their pictures from Zillow, throw them in a template on Canva, print out a quick 20 flyers for them, and give them those for free. Floor plans, 9 times out of 10, actually 10 times out of 10, FSBOs don't have floor plans. They just don't. So maybe you want to bring that to their attention. Have you thought about doing a floor plan? Oh, I don't know how to do those. Not a problem. Why don't I have my marketing guy stop by? It's actually going to cost you, and you can transfer this cost directly to the seller. Why don't I have my marketing guy cost by? That's about $60, $70 for a floor plan. You can pay him directly. He will give you the files. It's going to increase your listing because people like to know what they're buying. So offer a floor plan. Offer to rewrite their listing description. Use AI. Take what they've already got, dump it into ChatGPT, spruce it up and have AI chunk it back out again, email it over to them. Here's a new listing description for you, which I think will assist your listing on Zillow. And then also social graphics. Do you do social media? Oh, you do? Would you like my team to do some social graphics for you? Here they are. Poof. Just do it and send. Don't ask, just do and send. They'll be internally grateful. You keep giving these things to them. Just keep giving them. Even if they say, oh, I'm not interested. Listen, you know what? I know you're like me. You don't want to accept any help. This is for free. I'm doing it anyway. I'm dropping them off. Just give it to them. They love that stuff. They really do. And again, if all of that stuff that you do helps them sell their house, great. I've had a for sale by owner refer people to me. They never listed with me, but they referred me clients because of the service I gave them, the assistance and the value I brought to them. They referred clients to me. So I don't know about you, Roman. I'm pretty sure you and I are alike, right? But when we give people free stuff, when we give them help and they appreciate it and you see the appreciation, it just makes you feel good, right?
Sure thing. That's the law of reciprocity. That's
Yeah,
built in our nature. If you give something, you expect that when you get something, you expect that you feel naturally that you want to give that person back in the form of
yeah.
referral. Maybe not necessarily listing. You're right. Maybe we'll jump on the next one. Maybe they want to sell themselves, but buy with you. We never know, right?
I've had that happen. They wanted to sell by themselves, but ironically, they wanted a realtor to help them buy. And I'm like, you cantankerous son of a gun. Like, you don't see the value in the sell side, but you want me on the buy side. Whatever, take it. Right? It's a transaction. It's a relationship. Just take it. But yes, giving feels great. I don't know anybody that has helped somebody or given something away to somebody who feels shitty about it. You just don't. You just feel good. Um, so I offer up these services. I offer these things. And the real thing that gets me back in the door, the real turning point for sellers who are for sale by owners is when it comes down to the paperwork and the numbers. Paperwork and the numbers. So whether I'm on the phone or whether I'm in person, I really gauge this next phase, the hook, as I call it. I gauge depending on where I'm at with them. If I'm in their house and this was a 20-minute preview and we're there an hour and we're vibing and I've got a cup of coffee and they're showing me pictures of the grandkids, I'm like, boom, I'm going in with the next line. If it's very stoic and it's a preview and a preview only, then I set the hook in a phone conversation week 1, week 2, week 3, when we've built some more rapport. But the hook, the real kicker to this, is by asking this seller, just out of curiosity, I'm curious, have you seen or received an offer on your home yet? Most of the time it's a no. Ish, that's what I thought. That's what I'm afraid of. It's right here. That's what I'm afraid of. My fear is, Roman, that you may receive an offer from an agent who gives you a very, very short time frame to respond and won't give you enough time to make a balanced and unpressured decision. Why don't I do this? I'll stop by tomorrow and bring you a sample packet of a purchase contract and all of the associated documents so that way you can read them over at your leisure, and when the time comes, make a balanced and unpressured decision. This takes about, I have the packets right behind me. They're all, in fact, right behind me here. They're already pre-printed, ready to go. I grab one, I go. It's a sample of a purchase contract, HOA addendum, seller's disclosure, anything that we use here in Arizona. It has sample right across the middle of it, so they can't use it. But I drop it off. And then I spread that packet out across the dining table or the kitchen counter and be like, here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's all the paperwork you need. And like I said, this is where they go, oh shit. It's a big eye opener. They didn't expect nearly 100 documents of pages, with tiny little writing with a lot of legalities. And so they get overwhelmed. And that's where you try and say, hey, listen, these are the areas I would focus on. And I just grab a pencil and start highlighting pages. I would highlight this area. I would look at this area because this means this and this means this. And you can just see their eyes is glazing over. And at that point, you think, yeah, you're close to listing because you don't want to have to deal with this. But it stands out. It shows them, it starts to show them your value. This guy's been giving me open house signs. He's been giving me marketing materials. He's been telling me to do this. Now he's giving me all this paperwork to read. I should just hire this guy. Well, yes, you should. That's why I'm here. And so we keep feeding these things. This hook puts in a little bit of fear. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It adds fear. And when people move away from pain towards pleasure, we know that. So when they see 100 pages of legal documents that they have to read, understand, sign, and agree to, they want to move away from pain of having to do that and move towards pleasure. Pleasure just happens to be in the form of myself as a licensed realtor. Okay. So think about that. Little things that you can give them that are pain points, they will move away from pain towards pleasure. The last thing, the big thing, and if you could pull this, if you don't have this slide, I can pull it up for you, but this is a crucial thing. And I'm actually going to share with you, Roman, so you can share to your listeners the PDF that I actually send. So there's a very specific slide which I showed at Elite Retreat, which has a lot of numbers on it. And like I said, I'm going to send this to Roman so he can send it all to you guys. There is an NAR statistic that states that for sale by owners will sell their home for 88% of their sales price. 88%. And on top of that 88%, they oftentimes will offer a commission to an agent bringing in a buyer, 1, 2, or 3%, depending. So the example I gave was just rough property, $410,000, with them offering a 3% commission to a buyer and them selling it at 88% to sales price. Their total bottom line, everything taken out, was like $350,000. Okay. On the other side of the page, I show them what those numbers would be working with an average agent in this marketplace. And in the other column, it's what they get when they're working with me. Now, the only difference between the other agent and me is what my ratio of my sales to list price is. So on the last column, my sales to list price is 96.3%. So at a $410,000 house, paying a full 6% commission and everything else in between, they net $371,000. That's a giant difference of like $28,000 difference from listing by themselves and saving money, right? To listing with an agent and paying a full 6%, they still get $28,000 more. That's not a number I've made up. That is an NAR statistic. So all I do is I just sit down and I show these numbers to them and say, hey, listen, I don't know if you're aware of this, and it's my job to obviously bring this to you, but this is probably where you're going to end up. You're probably going to end up here, whereas listing with me down the road could end you up here. Now, you said, going back to the original conversation about money and motivation, you said that you've got, I don't know, $300,000 of equity in this house. What could you do with an extra $30,000? Where could you apply that 30,000? Could you bring down your next interest rate with that money? Could you potentially look at adding something or upgrading a bathroom in the home or a bedroom or maybe even buying a new car for the family? What could you do extra with that $30,000? A lot of times they're like, so well, if you don't know, that's fine. You can give it to me. I'll spend it. Like, it's not a problem. I'll take it. If you don't want it, please give it to me. I know what to do with it. But they cannot deny the numbers, Roman. They just can't. These aren't made up. These are statistical numbers. And so when you provide this data again and just leave them with it and then keep following up and keep following up and watching them do price reductions on Zillow, I'm like, oh my guys, why are we doing a price reduction? Why? Again, the numbers don't lie, my friends. So you just gotta, it's a forceful love is where it comes from. You just got to be a little forceful, but with a little love, and the numbers don't lie.
That's awesome. Love it. So, Matt, how you share these numbers? Because that bottom line numbers, they're absolutely convincing. Because if I lose 30,000 by selling myself, I would rather hire Matt to gain more, especially when he's
Yeah,
asking me
yeah.
how you're going to spend that extra 30 G's. So, are you printing for each for sale by owner? Do you have an app? What's the technology?
Yep. So I actually have, and here's what I'm going to do for you also. I use Canva a lot. I know a lot of agents use Canva. I'm going to share with you, Roman, for you to share with your listeners, a shareable link for Canva. I already have this PDF created. I'm going to share it with you so your listeners can hit that link. It'll pull up the document. They can edit it, change the colors, change the numbers, print, and send to FSBOs. They don't have to recreate the wheel. I've already done it. You just got to change the colors. So I have this PDF in Canva. If I know that I'm putting together that sample document packet, they've already asked for that, or they've already agreed to let me drop that off. What I do is I go into Canva, I change the numbers. I use their list price, whatever they say their house is on Zillow. I don't put my price, my CMA price. I put their price. I put in what they're selling it for, and then just transpose the numbers and add, calculate them all, and then print that out full color, and I put it in the book. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's all the documents that you may want to look at. Also, here's something of interest. Here's an infographic that I want to share with you that shows NAR's numbers, any other agent in Tucson's numbers, and my numbers. It's simple as that. It's a physical document that I leave with them.
Yeah, it becomes no brainer. Who wants to leave 30 grand on the table? All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think that is very helpful and very strategic topic that we discussed today. I want to give our listeners a chance to ask us a questions in the chat. And meanwhile, Matt, while they're doing so, if they have any questions, what would be your final message to agents who haven't started for sale by owners, who are scared of for sale by owners? How would you advise them to take that new lead source and achieve success like you achieved in 2023, which I believe was 17 transactions? That's what you said in the literature.
Yeah. It was crazy. I would say this: they're waiting for you to call. They're either somebody else is going to call them if you don't. And honestly, that other agent is probably going to be using the old school scripts, is probably going to beat them up, is probably going to get them pissed off and frustrated. They're looking for a breath of fresh air. Okay. If you approach it this way, it's a very tactile, very gentle approach. If you go barreling in there and calling them and trying to convert them on the phone and calling them a dumbass, and don't you realize that nobody's buying FSBOs, blah, 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 blah. They're just going to click and they will hate you forever. And it actually puts a bad taste in their mouth for anybody that follows you. So I would say this: you obviously need more listings. Great, everybody does in this market. We are limited on them, so we all need more listings. Listings lead to buyers. We know that. Hold this listing open, you could probably catch 2, 3 more, 4 buyers. And typically, when one house in the neighborhood sells, 2 or 3 others will sell within 3 to 6 months because it's a starting point. So be that agent. Call that for sale by owner. Love on them. Bring value. Ultimately, get the listing. Hold it open. Pick up buyers. Market the neighborhood. Get 2 more listings. You can honestly get 5 or 6 listings or 5 or 6 transactions or relationships out of one FSBO. So why wouldn't you? Why would you spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month with Zillow for maybe warm leads? Maybe Daffy Duck wants to buy a house, because we've all seen those on these online leads. These are free. It just takes a phone call, which you've already got, and your time. There's nothing to lose. They're not going to hate you. You're already not on their Christmas card list, so you're not going to be removed from it. They don't care about you and you don't care about them, but pick up the phone and make them love you.
Awesome. Well, great takeaway message. I have a couple questions. First, Tatiana asks us, what would you say is an opening line for someone who's selling a land or with a tiny shed on it, who will not be holding this open, and but the property is attractive property? What would you say to this type of
Yeah, great question. It's very difficult to ask if they're holding land open. They're like, it's all open. Go see it. I would pivot and say, hey, I have buyers looking in this area looking for land. Are there any specific instructions or anything I need to be aware of? Or is there a time that I can go out and preview the land? Do you need to be there, or can I go and see it by myself? Have that question. Some landowners may turn and say, well, there's a gate, it's locked, I've got to be there. Some may turn and say, no, you can drive out there, go walk the land yourself. You want to have that conversation. The last thing you want to do is trespass. So it's always, and you could say that, like, I would love to go out and preview this. However, I'm giving you a courtesy call because I don't want to get shot for trespassing. Is it okay if I go out there by myself, or do you need to be there with me? Have that conversation.
Perfect. I hope that answered your question, Tatiana. And I have another question from Nathan. He said, would you advise for an assistant to drop off any signage and other materials you deliver, or if you don't plan on seeing the seller face to face? So I guess he's asking, would you have your assistant to deliver it, or you would prefer to do it yourself?
Always yourself. At the end of the day, they're buying you, right? 9 times out of 10, sellers, even buyers, they buy us before they buy what we do, what we serve, all that sort of stuff. So they're buying you. Anytime you can get in front of the homeowner, the seller, make them laugh, have a conversation, build rapport, build connectivity, you want to be in front of them. So the last thing you want to do is have them build rapport with your assistant and then you come in to try and do the close. Now, sure, they start to like the team, but they don't have a relationship with you. They have a better one with your assistant. You always want it to be with you, because once they bought you, they'll buy anything that you do below that.
That's what I thought. Always be in front of them. That's the whole point of follow-up. We can pass to assistants certain automations, but no one can replace us building rapport, building relationship. One more question, Matt, we're getting here. Can you take us through what the conversations might be on week 4, 5, 6, etc.? Inform them of the recent sales, solds in the area, more tips to get their home sold.
Yeah, love this. Great question. So I start every week's conversation with, how was the activity last week? Any offers? Did you hold it open? Then I always ask the question, what are we doing differently this week? Let them answer, give them space to answer. They may turn and say, well, we're holding it open, or we have a showing, or we have this, or we have that. Great. And then, yes, hey, listen, did you see in MLS that the house around the corner from you went under contract? It's a 1,400, 1,500, 1,700 square foot home. It just sold for X, Y, and Z. It's very comparable to yours. How can we piggyback off buyers that looked at that house but missed out? How can we drive those buyers to now look at you? What can we do differently this week? And so if you've got houses in the neighborhood selling, but they're still the for sale owner on the corner not selling, how can we get that traffic from these folks over to you? And they're going to go, I don't know. And so you just want to grab them by the ears and just shake them, like, the answer's in front of you. I'm right here, but they don't do that. So you turn and say, well, maybe we do an open house. Do you know about social media marketing? Have you tried a Facebook ad, a Google pay-per-click ad? They're going to be like, no. And you're like, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, if I was you, I would probably do this, and this. Handhold them a little bit. So every week you can be giving them, have you heard about rates? Rates have come down, which means we know prices go up. Be the educator. Matt Farnham, great friend of mine in Nevada, Las Vegas, part of our brokerage. He had a talk at Tom Ferry. He said, so many people look for ROI, return on investment. Get that out of your head. Stop thinking about return on investment. How many weeks do I have to call this guy before he lists? And then that's X amount of thousands in commission. Get rid of ROI and start thinking about ROR, ROR, return on relationship. If we can pour into these for sale by owners and they eventually list with us, that's a relationship. We got to return on our relationship. If they never list with you, but they pass you off to a buyer, or they buy with you, or they refer you to somebody else, that's an ROR. That's what you want. You want them, when they sell, to talk to their friends and say, hey, we were really lucky. We sold it by ourselves, but actually, I wouldn't recommend it. It was a pain in the ass. I would call this guy. He's great. And that's what you want them to do. Give your information to somebody else. Does that make sense?
Well, makes total sense. Building relationship. Okay, one more question. I think I can put it. Okay, I can put it on the screen. My response: if I can demonstrate to you that I can still net you the amount you want, would you be willing to utilize my services, as I would need to be able to market it to as many people? He then said if you was to list, he would utilize the lady to whom he gave his word to list.
With her 2 years ago. Holy moly. I asked, do you still know if she's in the business or if she's expertise handling acreage properties? Any other suggestions on follow-ups for me? That's fantastic. Oh my, Tatiana, I love this. So you've got so you've got a 38 plus acre parcel. He's 73, willing to pay a co-broker 3% already, but not willing to list. But okay, and he's got an agent from 2 years ago. Holy cow. So yeah, my first one, Tatiana, would be this. You asked the right question. Is he still in contact with this agent from 2 years ago? Has she been following up with him? Has this agent from 2 years ago given him a recent market analysis of the value of the land? He may be selling himself short. If he turned around and says, no, I haven't heard from her in 2 years, we're like, well, doesn't really sound like she wants to help you list your land if she's forgotten about you for 2+ years, right? I would offer to do a free market analysis for him and then see what the price of the land is compared to what he has it listed at. Maybe he's selling himself short. Maybe he could add an extra 10, 20, 30, 50,000 to that land price, and he's going to love you for that. I would stay on top of this, Cap. If this other agent from 2 years ago isn't following up with him, isn't providing value, shit, I would be all over this like white on rice. Deliver as much value as you can. Tatiana, ask him some questions, and maybe you already know these, my love, but see in his Zillow listing, has he got drone footage of the land, or is it all somebody 5 foot tall taking picture of bushes and flat land? If he doesn't have drone photography, offer that service and say, Mr. Seller, what I do when I sell land, I always take drone photography. I always then mark out the borders of the land on the image so people can get a visual representation of the size of the parcel. You don't have that. Why don't we do this? Why don't I do this for you for free? Let me have my photographer go out there, do some drone footage for you, and I'm going to give it to you because I want you to sell this land. But I ask one condition. If it doesn't sell within the next 30 to 60 days or whatever timeline he's put out, would you promise to give me an opportunity to help you sell this listing? See what he says. If he's not interested and he doesn't care and he's going to go with Carol from 2 years ago that may or may not still be in the business or even dead, then let him do it. Some people just cannot get out of their own way. People that see value and need assistance will move to meet you. So Tatiana, I would suggest if he doesn't have drone photography, maybe offer that. What's it going to cost you? A couple of $100 for your marketeer's time? Maybe it's $200 you'll never get back, but if you get the land listed, it's well worth it, and you already have the photography.
That's great answer, Matt. Yeah, it was pretty long. I was confused at the very beginning. Yes, always $150 on one side and I know $10,000 commission on the other side. I think it's just cost of doing the business. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you run ads and you don't get any leads from it. There is the lead right here. You just want to serve the for sale buyer, serve your potential client, and $150 is just the cost of running the business, and you probably can write this off, right?
Yeah. No, Tatiana, I would also lean into that too. I noticed in your comments here, you wrote that his response is that his wife doesn't want to sell, but he does. I would try and dig into that a little more. if you have the Phil Jones book, Exactly What to Say, use some of those lines, and really ask those questions of, why isn't it your wife doesn't want to sell? What's her emotional connection to the land? What's stopping her from wanting to sell it? It may be a case of he's going up against his wife's wishes. She's pissed at him. He's going left field. Even if they were to receive an offer, you can't guarantee that both of them are going to accept it because the wife doesn't want to. You may be wasting your time. So dig into that question. For instance, this could be the wife's land. The husband wants to sell it because they want the money, but the wife doesn't want to sell it because it's family rights, it's family land. You don't know where that is. So I would dig into the question of why the wife doesn't want to sell and then go from there.
Right. That's actually a pretty good topic you brought up, especially when two spouses or multiple parties involved. Do you typically ask who is decision maker and you follow up with the decision maker if there is, let's say, a couple, or how's the process with multiple sellers in the deal?
I will say this: whoever puts their phone number on Zillow is wearing the trousers. It's as simple as that. Whoever puts their phone number on Zillow is steering the ship. So if you get the phone call and it's the wife, well, you're dealing with the wife, and the husband's playing golf and he doesn't care. If it's the husband, who is leading this. Okay. Obviously, just with anything, you want to ask the question: am I talking to the only decision maker in the home, or should we be having this conversation with somebody else? But for that initial preview, if it's the wife that answers, that's who you deal with. If they're starting to talk about listing, then you want to bring in the other partner. No doubt she's going to go home, or he's going to go home anyway and be like, hey, I met this realtor and he gave me all these ideas, and do you want to do any of these? Like, they're going to have that conversation over dinner anyway, or maybe they don't. Who knows? Maybe they're getting divorced. Maybe they don't talk. I don't know. But 9 times out of 10, spouses are going to talk. But I would also just, whoever answers the phone, whoever's number it is, that is your point of contact until you know differently.
Fantastic. Well, I think we covered all the questions. I want to thank Matt again for joining me on this podcast today. It was wonderful, so powerful. I want to thank you so much. And I hope we stay in touch, Matt, and I'll see you on the next Town Fair event.
Absolutely, Roman. Thank you for your time. Tatiana and everybody else that asked questions. Fantastic questions. Thank you. Nathan, Tatiana, and Mike, great questions. And Roman, thank you for having me, my friend. One of the greatest in the business. I'm just so glad that we're in the same ecosystem. We can share these great tidbits.
All right. Fantastic. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.